Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. There is a rally of support behind the possibility of establishing a trans-Kalahari rail link to Southern Africa's west coast. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer is with me in studio today to unpack the story. Welcome, Martin.
Morning, Bryn.
What would be the benefits of establishing a new open access railway line?
Well, open access always is a magical pair of words because, we have many places around the world where there's not open access, and that is one of the problems with a free enterprise and private sector-led development. So, one hopes that those two words will be key in this, and we don't know for sure yet. But we do know that the center of coal gravity is moving from the Witbank area, which is being depleted, to the Waterberg area and the Mamabolo area. Mamabolo is in Botswana, but of course coal deposits know no fences or boundaries, and it really is one big deposit. With the Waterberg area, we already see the Medupi power station going into Waterberg. We know Matimba has been there for a long time. We know Grootegeluk Mine and Exoro are very active there, along with a lot of other people. And we also know that CRC of Canada is active in Mamabolo, and they're going to need rail. And that is why they're talking to surrounding governments and trying to get some sort of consensus on the idea of a private sector-led rail link between that coal area and also the Walvis Bay port.
And what would be the benefits for miners in South Africa, particularly coal miners?
It would unlock incredible activity because we have now the Richards Bay coal terminal, which has earned a fortune for South Africa over the years. It was far-seeing people that built that. Now we have some more insight and farsight being experienced on the west coast. So the one is on the east coast, fantastic for selling to India and China. And the other is on the west coast, fantastic, selling to Europe and America. So, we could have the best of both worlds, one on the east, one on the west, and unlocking all sorts of opportunities for miners in Africa, because it's Southern Africa, because it's one thing having a coal deposit. It's another thing getting it to market. And logistics are always key in the export market.
Just how easy would it be to establish this railway line, and what type of funding would be required?
A lot of funding, and it's not going to be easy, because there are various governments involved. You've got to get cooperation with the South African government, the Botswana government, the Namibian government, and other interested parties in the area. You've got to get the financial will of the private sector to go ahead. We haven't seen any private sector rails in this part of the world. I mean, you do have them in Australia. Australia's, the tale of two halves. On the eastern side of Australia, you get government-owned rail. On the western side, you get private sector-owned rail. And both have their advantages, particularly when it comes to private sector rail. The open access is the problem. If people aren't in there early and don't become part of the concession holders, it can be a problem. And that's where it's been unfair in the western side of Australia. You see now the Australian government ruling that open access must be a feature of that private sector rail. And you see the private sector builders kicking and screaming because, they want it for themselves.
Martin, why do you think the focus has shifted away from the Richards Bay coal terminal to the port of Walvis Bay?
Well, I think that they're looking for alternatives. They're seeing where they're located. They're located in a position which can enable them to go east or west. So Richards Bay coal terminal, they want to go that way because, of course, the big China market is important, and that would be the quickest route. India developing very fast, also the quickest route, and other activities of sales that can take place. But why not have an opportunity to go west? You've got the coal deposits, in that vicinity. You've got once that rail goes in, it's going to unlock other opportunities. So it would be a great feature for us to have one going east, which is existing but not linked to the Waterberg, and that's a very key thing. It's got to be linked to that Waterberg, and we have seen some kicking and screaming from Transnet, needing guarantees, which I'm sure a lot of the big coal miners in the Waterberg area will be pleased to give, because there's an abundance of coal there. And when they do have that link from the Waterberg, it will also be a link to Mpumalanga. And we know that the power stations of Mpumalanga are going to outlast the coal fields of Witbank. So they're going to have to import coal from Waterberg anyway. So they might as well build that rail. We'll have the option. We'll have one going to Richards Bay Coal Terminal and possibly another, and a more private sector leadership, but with a lot of liaison with government and the World Bank and IMF and all the other funders giving that alternative option.
Thank you for your time, Martin.
Yeah, thanks very much, Bryn.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time as we take an in-depth look at the mining world's premier projects, industries, and business personalities.